Comes the money. You're now listening to the Gambling with Gold podcast with Jason Gold. Presented by Champions Round.
What is going on? My name is Jason Gold, and you are listening to Gambling with Gold, episode 76. And once again, I am joined by my buddy from the Action Network, Dan Titus, rocking the wrong hat today. Let's get it started off the top. We're going to talk about some Dynasty Rookies later. We're going to talk about some NFL season win totals before the NFL schedule release. But we have two NBA games tonight, including the 76ers going to take the 3-2 lead in Miami against the Miami Heat. Dan is obviously going to be rooting for the 76ers, and I've already staked my claim that I am going to be betting the Miami Heat. I have bet them -2.5 and -3 tonight. Tell me why I'm wrong, Dan, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
So I think the most glaring difference between the first two games, in which, and I apologize, y'all, I was going hard in Miami and making claims of Sixers and 6. I got the bottle signs to prove it. But yeah, man, like the difference between the first two games and the last two have really been Joel Embiid and how much he impacts the offense for the Sixers. The Miami defense was doing a great job in the first two games, really honing on Tobias Harris, letting Tyrese Maxey get his shots off, but Danny Green really wasn't making any shots. Frankly, no one on the Sixers was really making any shots, and that's because they could just get out on those wings. When you have Joel Embiid in the center position, it's a completely different format and strategy to guard against him. And right now they're actually doing pretty good, but let's not forget this guy is playing with an orbital bone fracture in his face, a concussion, and he's got a fractured ligament in his thumb. And he's still out there causing havoc on defense and making the right passes and getting people in positions to score. The 3-point variance for the Sixers right now will probably regress a little bit back down to the mean, but I still feel like they've turned a corner after these last two games on the road, by the way, or at home. Now they're going back to Miami with no Kyle Lowry. I'm not really sure if that would really help the Miami Heat anyway, the way that he's been playing, but I don't think that the Miami Heat can really score points. I mean, it's really been Jimmy Butler and who else? They're going to need Duncan Robinson to come off the bench, and Spo hasn't made those adjustments yet. But I think that they're in trouble more than the Sixers. And just imagine Embiid winds up going for 30, 13 rebounds, like the Embiid that we know that's MVP caliber. And not going to get into that debate right now, but I think Jokic was well worth winning the award. But I would have given him co-MVPs because they were both great. But I just haven't seen enough from the Heat side of things to make me think that they are going to win, let alone cover the spread here at 3.5. I think 3.5 is too many points, and I think the Sixers are going to keep this competitive back on the road in Game 5.
All right, so I agree with a lot of what you said. Miami definitely seems to be in trouble, and James Harden had a great game in Games 4. He's probably been at 11 nightclub in Miami since then, and he'll probably be there until tip-off, having a great time. So whatever. Harden under 20.5 points. His shooting percentage is going to be god-awful tonight. I mean, this is what Harden does. He's not going to have a great game tonight. That doesn't mean that the 76ers can't win, because I expect Embiid to dominate as he's been dominating. I expect Maxey to be good. I expect some other pieces on the 76ers to step up. Here's where I think you're wrong. I think that the last two games in Philadelphia, the Heat have been so dreadful from three. I think that they get a good game out of Hero. I think they could find out of Don Robinson, which we haven't seen in a while. I like a lot of his overs, especially the over 1.5 threes made tonight. But here's the biggest thing: Doc Rivers has outcoached Eric Spoelstra in 2 games. Wow. What do you think the likelihood of that continuing is? The answer is fucking 0, especially in Miami. That's the answer. So, how much do you think the adjustment is worth from Doc reverting to sucking, which we all agree is not a very good coach, in terms of X's and O's on the court? Off the court, with personalities, he's probably very good. Spo, we know, video junkie, is one of the best X and O guys in the entire world. He's going to have a great game plan for Game 5. Whether or not it goes well or not, I don't know. But I would bet a lot on Spo out-coaching Doc Rivers in this game, making the adjustments necessary in Miami with Game 5. He has 2 days to discuss this with Pat Riley, which always has to be helpful. I'm just saying. And I assume that he takes advice from Pat Riley, unlike Doc Rivers, who listens to Daryl Morey. He's like, yeah, shut the fuck up, analytics nerd. He just doesn't care. So that's kind of where I'm at. I think that Spo's going to swing this game.
You got to watch the dang game, as Doc likes to say. But yeah, I mean, the sharps are definitely on my side of things. There's definitely some sharp money coming in on the Sixers here. It opened at 3.5. It got bet down to 3 now. I'm curious to see if this goes back up again. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, I would absolutely say that Spo is a better coach, and he's been out coached in the last couple games, which is pretty rare. Doc Rivers did decide to go to more zone, which I think has actually helped the Sixers a lot and kind of frustrated and disrupted the Miami offense. But the adjustments that Spo's gonna have to make is something like a Duncan Robinson. And if his threes are at 1.5, I would definitely like that over. They got to get him more involved in the lineup, or someone that's been playing really well that hasn't really been getting too much shine is Victor Oladipo. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets maybe more minutes. Tyler Hero's questionable for this game. I don't think he's going to miss it, but maybe we see more Oladipo, more Duncan Robinson, just to kind of generate a little bit more offense that's been kind of sputtering for the Heat the last couple games.
All right, so total in this game sitting at 209.5 right now. 62% of the money, 57% of the bets is on the over here. I don't really have a particular read on that. Do you?
Dude, the way these offenses have been so bad, like 209, 208.5, like you could definitely price shop. I feel like the majority would take the under just by the way these offenses have been struggling, which kind of makes me want to go over. But yeah, that one's tough, man. I don't know that I can make a play on it just because the offenses have been so bad on varying ends of the spectrum. First 2 games, Sixers couldn't make a bucket, and now the Heat are on the other side of that. So does it even out in the middle and they both drop like 105, 106? Maybe. But I could also see them both struggling. This be like one of those Detroit Pistons, San Antonio Spurs duke it out for like 90 to 94 type games, So I'm going to stay away from the total. I'm looking at some of the props now. You said you liked
I liked Harden under 20.5 points for sure.
I think I might be feeling a little Victor Oladipo over 17.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I mean, he's been getting buckets, and they're going to need a secondary score. And if Tyler Hero's a little bit hurt, he could definitely be more of a factor. Sixers side.
I kind of like the Jimmy Butler over 6.5 assists. Also, I think that he'll be a facilitator, and if I think that Duncan Robinson and you think Victor Oladipo could have some good games, it's probably going to be Butler feeding him. So kind of like that over assist.
Yeah, actually, I might flip that. Instead of going to this PRA, Oladipo over 12.5 points. I think that makes some good sense. And to your Jimmy point, yeah, I mean he's the point guard. And I think we'll see him be more aggressive on offense as well. But like his prop line has been at 5.5 for the last couple of games. So Book's got a little bit smarter, making 6.5, but I think that's still too low. I mean, he's had upwards of 11, I think, in game 3. So yeah, I like that target for Jimmy Butler as well.
All right, let's move over to Mavericks Suns later game. That series all of a sudden is tied 2-2. Also, Chris Paul has had 2 nightmare games in a row. In Dallas, they're back in Phoenix. They are currently favored by 6. The total rising a little bit. It's at 214.5, despite the fact that 27% of the bets and 61% of the money is on the under there. It has risen to the over, which is pretty interesting. 69%, 81%. No, sorry. 81% of the money, 69% of the bets is on Phoenix at -6. What's your read initially on this game?
I'm gonna back the Suns here. A little bit because I've heard people compare this Dallas team to the Harden Rockets. I believe of like 2000 and what year was that? 2013, 14, something like that. So they're a really good 3-point shooting team, and it's just on display right now. And Luka, certainly the backbone of this offense. They're shooting an absurd amount of threes, and the one thing that Phoenix was really good at this year was guarding opposing 3-pointers, and they can't get into a 3-point competition because they don't shoot that many. So they really got to get back to square one here and play defense. and slow that tempo in the game down. Now, it's going to be hard to stop Luka. So I feel like you got to pick your poison, right? Like at some point, Monty Williams got to be like, would I rather lose with Luka getting 50? Would I rather win with Luka getting 50 or having all those role players kind of getting involved? And I think we're going to see it more of less of those role players get involved, like Mikal Bridges locking down, the Reggie Bullocks and the Jalen Brunsons, the Maxi Klebas, like all those people that have been really instrumental in getting those 2 games back. I think we're going to see them struggle a little bit. And I think we're going to see Chris Paul shine, as you stated in the beginning. He's had 2 rough games. And after, you got to think, man, I think Chris Paul is probably one of the pettiest competitors in the league. If this little kid is going to be touching his mom's or whatever,
yeah,
I'm going to see you. I'm going to see you. Like, I don't know if that message was to the kid or whether that was to the Mavs. This man's going to be, I was looking at his points, rebounds, assists, 30.5. I'm going over on that shit, man, because Chris Paul is going to be angry, pissed. He's going to will this team back. We haven't seen a lot out of Mikal Bridges. Jay Crowder's been really good. So I would actually look at his points as well. He's kind of stepped up. But, I think this is going to be the Chris Paul game where they get this series back on their home court, go back up 3-2. I'm back in the Suns -6. I think there's going to be too much there's too much emotions to fade the Suns in this spot here, even for how well Luka and the Dallas Mavericks have been playing over the last couple of games.
The Chris Paul yelling at the kid thing was hilarious. I need that video on repeat because it's just the kid's mom is right there. She's petrified. And Chris is yelling at kids like, Chris, you're going to go into a 9th grade classroom and try to beat up like the kid? Like, I understand he was a dick to your family and you have every right to yell at him, but he's like, I'm going to see you later. He's going to walk into like Woodrow Middle School and be like, yeah, I'm going to come kick your ass. Like, it was really funny.
Funny, man.
He didn't know at the time how old the kid was. It's just funny to watch the video. Like, it's literally like a 9th grader who's just yelling at him.
But it's even more interesting that, like, I don't know, like once it came out, like apparently the kid was like trying to give him a hug or something like that. Like when I first heard it, it was like, yo, they put hands on him, they were pushing him, like shoving him, like for it to be that, like still the disrespect. And I get it, fans are getting a little too close to comfort to a lot of these entertainers and athletes. So you gotta draw the line somewhere. But to only give the kid a 1-year ban, I was like, it's a little light.
Yeah.
It's a little light.
A little light.
But Chris Paul, but hey, if they will motivate the Suns to get the dub here. So, yeah, I'm rocking with the Suns.
Yeah, I like the Suns too, -6. I love the Chris Paul. I bet over 16.5 and moved up to 17.5. I think I'd still bet it. The PRA, I bet at 29.5. It's 30.5. I still think that's a good number, probably to like 32.5.
Agreed.
Kind of goes back to what we talked about last week, where I think that this turns into Booker's more the facilitator type of role and Chris Paul's the scorer tonight. So
yeah.
We can play that whole system all over again, which is the Booker over 6.5 assists and under 28.5 points. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. Yeah, and Booker did go off that game, but I mean, I think
well, he ended up with 30, but he scored a lot at the end. Like we were on the right side.
Definitely, and that was only because Chris Paul played so poorly, like, and he's really been their closer. So I think we'll see. I don't know. I think this is going to be the best game out of Chris Paul in the series here. So, going to be a good game, no doubt. But I think what were the numbers on this one in terms of the sharps? Where's the money moving? I think it was most of the money was on the Suns.
Yeah, so 69% of the bets, 81% of the money is on the Suns right now in terms of the spread. Yeah. Money line a lot more towards the Mavericks, but ever, and then the over. Well, that was the because it 2.5. But in terms of the bet percentage, 27% of the bets and 61% of the money is on the under. So take that for what you will. Yeah,
I think they're banking on Dallas actually missing some threes here. So I think that makes sense.
All right. So let's go over to some Dynasty rookie rankings. I know that you and I have been doing a lot of drafts. I'm in one right now. I'm looking at the board, kind of wondering through the first 2 rounds, like kind of what your power ranking is. Because I think there's a couple of different, very specific tiers. And I have the question of where do I want to trade in and trade out based on that tier. So why don't we run through, do you have your power rankings in front of you?
I do, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to run through this draft that I have in front of me right now. went Breece Hall, Kenny Pickett 2. It's super flex and tight end premium. I drafted Drake London 3rd, Kenneth Walker 4, Treylon Burks 5, Garrett Wilson 6, Olave 7, Jameson Williams 8. Seemed like there was a tier break where Breece Hall is clearly 101. And then I think that London, Walker, Burks, Wilson, Olave, Williams is like that tier 2 if you're not taking the quarterbacks into account. You agree with that?
I would agree with that. And I was in like a similar – so I had like the 9th pick, and I was like – I had the back-end wide receivers like the Olaves, the Jameson Williams like selection, and I was like, or do I go James Cook? But I think that's a little too early to do that. So – yeah, I think the wide receivers really make up a bulk of the first round with I mean, depending on if you're in the super flex, obviously, maybe Kenny Pickett's interesting if you need that other quarterback, but he's still going to have to wait a little bit of time. And first round for me, like you got to get someone that you can at least try to plug in, immediately as like a flex position.
So after you get past those guys and maybe Kenny Pickett slips in there somewhere, I think that the next tier for me at least is Christian Watson, Sky Moore, James Cook. I know a lot of people have either Ritter or Willis in there, or maybe Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson to me is kind of like this weird tier break where we actually had to make a decision on the board. What's kind of your feeling about him right now in terms of the tier break?
I mean, it's interesting because I actually think that he could actually end up probably by the middle of this draft season, he could end up going in the first round because there's a lot of good reports coming out of Redskins camp that he's going to be a focal point of the offense. Like he's going to get involved. I mean, Carson Wentz is your quarterback after all. So I don't know, take that with a grain of salt. But at the same time, I read into draft hype, especially in the offseason, and there isn't a lot of weapons in Washington right now to get some of that target share from Terry McLaurin. And I think Terry McLaurin was like a very interesting wide receiver last year because he was a guy that was going, as high as 2nd, 3rd round. Maybe if you got value him in the 4th, but most likely not in a PPR. But he kind of tailed off towards the end of the season. So I think he needs someone else that's going to be able to take away some of that, the attention that he draws. And that could ultimately, if Carson Wentz can actually make a downfield throw, I think that Dotson could be in a really good spot there.
So our decision with Dotson was a little bit different. His profile is like a classic bust in terms of size, speed.
Yeah,
it's a good situation. It's not great. So we were on the clock with the 203, and we decided to trade out of the pick. We got 2.5 and 3.5, and then we flipped 2.5 for 2.8 and 3.8. So basically, we ended up with 2.8, 3.5, 3.8 for 2.3.
What is what did you wind up when you moved back? Who did you wind up selecting?
Yeah, so that's actually where we're at right now. So
okay,
the next picks were Malik Willis, Damian Pierce, match. So we had David Bell for the Browns. Just there are a lot of good reports. A lot of people in the industry are very high on him. I was not as a prospect, but in terms of a landing spot with Deshaun Watson, with all of their wide receivers are kind of out the door except for Amari Cooper. Seemed like an interesting, exactly. And seemed like an interesting way to play it. A rookie coming in with Deshaun Watson. We don't know how long Amari Cooper is going to be there. Maybe, a couple years. Bell could end up being his wide receiver 1 down the road. We thought it was a nice upside pick, but I don't feel great about it. We were between him and Rachaad White, but I just don't really trust any of the running backs right now, especially here. I'd rather take more dart flows than bank on one guy.
Right. That's fair.
So
I mean,
we have 3.3, 3.5, and 3.7 in round 3 here coming up. We're at 2.9 right now, so I feel like we're just going to throw darts at the Isaiah Spiller, Tyler Algier, Brian Robinson, Tyrion Davis Price, those type of guys, and just let's take 3 swings and see what hits instead of just one on Rachaad White.
Yeah, in one draft, I actually took 3 straight running backs. I went Kenneth Walker. Then I went Tyrion. I went with Price, and then I went with who's the running back from the Raiders?
Zamir White.
Zamir White, yeah. And I really like Zamir White, and I think he might climb up a little bit more just because the Josh Jacobs being his contract got declined, and then you also have Kenyon Drake, who's only on a 1-year deal. So that running back room could really open up in 2023 for the Raiders, who are absolutely loaded on offense now. So I think he might walk into some carries unexpectedly. So really like that.
What's your top, well, I guess like down to Dotson or Mechie, what's your wide receiver rankings in order?
Hold up. Let me pull that up real quick. So right now, you said starting at Dotson?
No. Just from the top. Just like through like the top. You're like top 8 guys.
All right. So Drake London, I'd say Garrett Wilson and Drake London tied. Treylon Burks, then we'll go Olave, Jameson Williams, Christian Watson, Dodson, Sky Moore. And then you kind of get into that next tier of like George Pickens. I actually really like Jalen Tolbert. I put him higher than John Mechie and Alec Pierce, mainly because like I just love that opportunity with Dak, and especially looking at their strength of schedule, which I know we'll get into in another pod. But the Cowboys have a cake matchup this year, and with only CeeDee Lamb really vying for targets along with Dalton Schultz, like I think he's going to be a really good wide receiver, and he's going too low. And then I put in, I think Trey McBride is actually kind of interesting, especially with news of D-Hop. I mean, I know he's not a wide receiver, but you might as well be. With news of D-Hop being out for 6 games, it's like Rondale Moore and who's really left there, man. Like they don't have a lot of targets.
Andy Isabella and Keyshawn Johnson are still on the team.
So at that point, I mean, I feel like they could run. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury isn't known for these 2 tight end sets, but like you could still have Zach Ertz be your traditional tight end, and then you slide Trey McBride out, just be like a Jimmy Graham, like I don't know, more of a route running Travis Kelce type dude, because he could do that, and he's the best. He was definitely the best tight end value wise. So I think he's also another guy that's been kind of rising up my board. And then obviously you go into the Wan'Dale Robinson. Like I don't know like what they're really trying to do with Kadarius Toney, and I don't really know if I can trust in Daniel Jones at this point. So I'm not really that high on him, to be honest. Like I think they got to work out a whole bunch of kinks before I would buy into that. But I guess the long-term aspect of it is kind of appealing. Another guy I just want to throw out a name here, Jelani Woods.
Yep.
Just a physical specimen, man. And like I'm almost wondering with Matt Ryan, it's not like Matt Ryan's typically had a pretty decent tight end. He's always kind of favored them. Michael Pittman obviously still there, but like outside of those wide receivers, definitely gonna be a running team. But like I'm compelled, man. He's a huge dude, one of these like freak, transfer former basketball player type guys. He could be a red zone target, and I don't know. I feel like there's some value there with Frank Reich and the way that he utilizes tight ends, especially in the red zone. He's another guy that I would actually take a little bit earlier. And I've seen him going like 4th, 5th round. I might be able to pull the trigger on that a little bit earlier if I don't have that position.
Well, you just named off a couple of my favorites here. Jalen Tolbert, I'm all over as a sleeper. Is that 3rd wide receiver on the Cowboys, and if Michael Gallup doesn't make it 100% back,
we know
between him and Lamb, I mean, you're going to get some games where he's going to be the wide receiver too. That's just an absolutely smash opportunity for him. And I would have Tolbert above Mechie, and we almost took him above Price, or above David Bell, but we thought that we could probably wait until the next pick and probably try to steal him there. I like Jelani Woods. Again, it's tough with the first-year tight ends. Like, they don't usually break out. Even Kyle Pitts, who's the breakout of all breakouts, had 1,000 yards and he only scored 1 touchdown. So it's just tough. I know that Matt Ryan does love his tight ends. And we had Jack Doyle retired, so they have Mo Alley Cox, and Jelani Woods will probably step in as like the number 2 there,
right?
Unless I don't know who else they signed, but
and they drafted someone last year too. Grayson, what was his name?
Yeah, Kyler Grayson.
Mm-hmm. So, but like he's a blocking guy.
Yeah,
like I don't think. With the size that you're going with athleticism at that position at that point. So, yeah, I'd be curious to see how the splits end up being between him and Mo Alley Cox.
I think the other that I love there's 2. Greg Dulcich. I don't love the spot because Russ hasn't traditionally used tight ends that much, and they have a lot of outside receivers. But I do think that he'll get a pretty good opportunity to play alongside Albert O. I think if you get him in the 5th round, I love it. Anything earlier, probably not. But the guy that I really love, who I think is going to make a big impact in year one, the guy that I love coming into the draft, came into a smash spot in Buffalo, Khalil Shakir, I think could be a top 10, maybe even like a top 7 rookie wide receiver by the end of the year. So if I can grab him in the 3rd, definitely someone I have my eye on. I know that the Bills obviously have a great receiver in Stephon Diggs and one that looks like he's going to come on in a big way in Gabe Davis. They have Dawson Knox. They have a couple other guys. But as the 3rd wide receiver there, I think that Shakir's skill set and the way they want to utilize him, if you watch his Boise tape, he definitely goes full Debo a lot of the time. And I think that you're going to see some interesting ways to deploy him in that offense in Buffalo. So I would definitely be in on Khalil Shakir in the 3rd round here.
What are your thoughts on Boise State players in general? Like, that's the only thing that was like holding me back a little bit was like, who was the last Boise State receiver to like pop? And they've all been like doing numbers. But I'm thinking like Austin Pettis, and I'm like, or Dante Pettis. Dante Pettis.
Yeah, Dante Pettis, not great. There was another kid that ended up in jail in like a year and a half. He was like a 2nd round pick, and he was like automatically just like went from the draft right to jail, and it was just not a great situation for him.
Yeah, I had I think it was around the same time I was debating Romeo Doubs and Shakir, and I went with Romeo, and I'm like
Green Bay, he's got a shot.
That's the only reason I was going for it, because I'm like, all right, well, if it's going to be Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb, and then you got Holder from Amari Rodgers from last year. Yeah. There's some opportunity for the people from last year, like the rookies, to kind of step up. But I think the wide receiver room just could be wide open. And to be drafted like number 132, like I feel like there's a shot that he could actually have a chance in camp if he impresses, but he's also kind of old. So, yeah, I didn't really, at that point, I was kind of like reaching. I was like, I don't know where I want to go with this, but they obviously already got Christian Watson, so they addressed the position, but I don't know. There's always a chance that there's that 2nd or 3rd round pick that could actually outperform the first one that you went for. So,
all right, here's because you brought up Green Bay's wide receivers, and I think that people are perhaps overlooking the free agent wide receiver market right now and thinking that Green Bay is just going to waltz in with Christian Watson and Allen Lazard as their top 2.
Right.
So here's my prediction. I think Odell and Jarvis Landry end up in Green Bay for the Packers this year.
Do they have odds on unrestricted free agents yet?
No, I don't think so. But that would be a fun parlay if they both sign there.
I actually I would love that pairing with both. I mean, that'd be sick. And like straight up hands team, like that's exactly what Rodgers needs. All he needs is reliable hands. He'll make everything else he'll figure out everything else.
I think Jarvis and him would be great. Like the route running, the ability to catch the ball anywhere.
I mean, he's a better version of Randall Cobb. So like,
yeah. Exactly. All right. That's so intriguing. Why don't we do this? We'll close out the podcast. I'm going to Vegas tomorrow. My birthday's on Thursday, so I need some bets to place in Vegas. The schedule release is also on my birthday, Thursday, so I will have a lot more information then on season win totals. And I've been promised by BetMGM that I can place week 1 bets while I'm there. I fly out Friday morning, so I expect to lay down. I can guarantee you one thing. I will be betting against the Cincinnati Bengals in week 1. You can book that right the hell now. Super Bowl losers are terrible in week 1, so I will definitely be doing that. All right, so season win totals that I like from BetMGM right now. I'll start off with my number 1, and I'll go for an over to start. I'm going to go with Baltimore over 9.5 right now. They were absolutely decimated with injuries last year. Usually that tends to regress to the mean, meaning they won't have as many next year. I don't think the Steelers are going to be that good, although we'll talk about their over in a second for a different reason. The Browns are not going to have Deshaun Watson for likely half the year, so they're probably going to stink. And the Bengals, we know how lucky they were to get to the Super Bowl last year. That's not saying that they couldn't do it again. Joe Burrow is great, and they did a lot of good things in the offseason. But I don't think that division is as strong as it has been. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the Ravens, especially given their draft and some of the moves in free agency. I think they're going to have a great season. So Baltimore over 9.5 is my first one that I'm probably going to end up betting in Vegas.
Yeah, one that I'm looking at that I'm really interested in is the Atlanta Falcons. And I got to probably price shop a little bit more, but I'm trying to get it if I can. I'm trying to see if I can find it at 5.5, but right now it's at 5. That's too rich, man. This team is going to be awful. They don't have a real quarterback. They have no run.
Whoa.
Mariota, come on. That's holdover.
Hey. If I said that shit about Michael Vick, you'd yell at me too.
He's a backup for a reason. But, maybe we'll see. But, like, he can get him to 4 wins, but I don't know if he's going to be the quarterback long enough to get him there. But I'm just concerned about the offense and the defense. Like, they don't have a running back. They spent up for a couple of running backs in the draft, Algier being one of them. But the wide receiver room is like much to be desired. You got Drake London out there with Kyle Pitts, with Mariota throwing it to him. I just don't see where they're going to muster up that many wins right now. And their strength of schedule right now is the ninth hardest schedule in the NFL. So I'm just going to fade the Falcons because they're not going to be good. Tom Brady's still in the division. The Panthers, I think, they're going to be okay, decent enough to compete with. I think the Saints will be better if Michael Thomas is back. They already got Olave, Jameis Winston. Alvin Kamara hopefully is healthier. That's going to be a tougher division now. So I don't see where they're going to eke out more than 5 wins.
I think that's fair. And I think they have no reason to try and compete. Although I did read in Peter King's article this week that Arthur Smith said he'll make no excuses this year and he plans on trying to win every game. So sure. I don't know what the fuck that means. I feel like that's what everyone says in May.
It sounds like what you tell your December. It sounds like what you say to season ticket holders that you need to sell some freaking tickets to a bum ass team.
Yeah, sounds right. All right, I will move over to my number one under on the board right now, and I think it's a team that's getting. I'll knock off the 2 here. Dallas under 10.5. I think that division's a lot stronger across the board. I think 10.5 is way too much. I know that their schedule's a little cakewalky, but you got to think that the Giants are going to be better. So maybe they split the season series. We got to think that Washington's probably going to be a little bit improved. And we think that the Eagles are going to be likely much improved and could be the favorites to win the division. I don't think Dallas' defense can play nearly as well as they did last year. I expect the offense, if they continue to feed the ball with Ezekiel Elliott, to fade a little bit. We saw Dak last year. I mean, I assume he'll probably be a little bit better this year, given the fact that he's another year removed from the ankle injury. But Remember, we still have Mike McCarthy there. Like, this is a 9 or 10 win team all season long. Give me the under 10.5. The other team that I have on here that I've circled for an under is Detroit. The Detroit is at 6.5 right now. They made some good moves. I'll give it to them. But remember, this is a team that fought their ass off for Dan Campbell. They played literally as hard as they possibly could last year. And what they end up with, 3 wins, 2 wins, something like that. It was not good. Aiden Hutchinson is not going to make that much of a difference. Jameson Williams probably isn't going to play half the season. Jared Goff is still Jared Goff. And remember, this is I would say that Brad Holmes is a pretty good GM. Dan Campbell definitely got the most out of his players, but he's not the most analytically driven. And it's not exactly like he has the greatest staff there. Like, he has guys that he trusts in the building, which is fine. Aaron Glenn, good defensive coordinator. But offensively, they're still going to be kind of weird. And defensively, I mean, Hutchinson's good, but they still have holes all over the roster. So give me that under 6.5. I think that is way too priced up. I think that they're more likely to win 4 or 5 games. They also have no reason to win. I know Dan Campbell wants them to win, but let's think about this. Goff's contract is up. They're in the move for a quarterback. If this gets to the end of the season and there are 5-6 wins, there's no reason to win. So, give me under 6.5 on Detroit.
I'm with you there, man. I don't know. I just don't see where they're still the worst team in their division. So if you're not getting those easy division wins, like, to face those other opponents, like, it's going to be hard to get those W's. So, like, much of my win totals are really targeting the divisions that suck, where you can scoop up some easy wins. And I love your play with the Dallas Cowboys because 10.5 is too rich. This team did not get better, and Ezekiel Elliott is getting older. I think this is going to be the year of Pollard. Finally, like,
we've been asking for it.
We have, but this is going to be it. But to that, I think you're exactly right. I'm taking the over on the Eagles 8.5 wins. I think that's too low. I think their number should probably be around 9.5. And what the moves that they made addressing the defense, as well as acquiring AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts has all the utensils he needs to actually execute right now. I think this team is going to be better. They're going to be better than the Cowboys. So right now I'm locking in division winner, NFC East, Eagles plus 250. I think that value is going to continue to shrink over time once they see how explosive this team can be. And now that they can actually play defense along with running the ball. Also have a player prop that kind of goes with that. Miles Sanders under 7.5 touchdowns. This dude is just not being utilized in the red zone at all. If it's running up and down the field, sure, Miles Sanders, you might be able to get there, but I don't think the coaching staff trusts him to be a workhorse back. I don't know how the hell they set this at 7.5. Unless he breaks off these 50, 60-yard runs 8 times, it ain't happening. So this is a running back by committee. They re-signed Boston Scott. I don't know what the hell the books are doing, but take the under on Miles Sanders under 7.5 touchdowns.
I think we just got a May 10th player prop. This thing won't cash until January. I fucking love it.
Hell yeah. And one more I want to throw out there that I also like is, I don't know why are the Bears priced at over 6.5? I'm taking the under. What the hell have the Bears done to get better? Like what?
Not only that,
Velus Jones? That's your answer?
Over 6.5 minus 142, heavily juiced to the over. So interesting.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know either.
I think Detroit might be better than them.
I don't know. But
that's tough.
It does make me think if I want to go under on Chicago, and I want to go under on Detroit, doesn't that mean that I'm way in on the Vikings this year?
Yeah,
it has to mean that, right?
Yeah.
So the Vikings are. I mean, that's already worth a win. Vikings are over 8.5 minus 130. All they got to do is go 9-8. I kind of like the Vikings,
dude. They're going to get easily. Yeah, that's easily at least 3-4 wins in the division, and they always kind of play the Packers tough. So you never know. Packers may struggle. That's the team they're going to struggle against.
I'm in on the Vikings.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's go. All right. Go. Somehow in on the Vikings. The other two that I'm kind of actually I have 3 that I'm kind of circling for different reasons, but not super confident in. New Orleans over 7.5, mostly based on the like. You should get wins between Atlanta and Carolina. They play Tampa Bay really tough, so let's say that they split. So you're already at 5-1 in the division. I think Jameis can be productive. I don't know what Dennis Allen's going to bring that's going to be different than Sean Payton, other than he's not Sean Payton. A little concerned about the offense in terms of the X's and O's regressing without Payton there. However, you get Michael Thomas back, you get Chris Olave, you have Alvin Kamara, you have a little bit more room for error. Their offensive line, a little bit of an issue. Obviously, Teron Armstead not there, but their defense still really good. I think that 7.5 is way too low for them. They should be an 8, 9, 10 win team all day. Pittsburgh over 7.5. This is basically based on
you're hating on Tomlin.
No, over 7.5.
No, I'm saying the books are hating on Tomlin.
Oh,
like, they even set it at as low as 7.5 when this guy's never had a losing season. Like, maybe that's the Ben Roethlisberger effect, but like I think they did a good job, at least piecing. Like you got Mitchell Trubisky who can win some games. He's won them before, and then you got your quarterback in Kenny Pickett who's well versed in the system. Grew up in Pittsburgh. Like I don't know the stories, the weapons. It's all still there.
Yeah, and let's say they don't have to leave the Eastern time zone the entire season. That is insane. Their bodies are going to feel comparatively awesome. This defense should continue to once again be one of the best in the entire NFL. They don't have to travel. They stay in the Eastern time zone. Like that defense is going to be elite. And you don't think that they're going to win 7.5 games? I don't know. I would bet on the over there. The other last one I had on the board was the Jets over 5.5, and I couldn't tell if I was getting swept up by all of their great draft or not. But I do think that is a team that is primed to be a much better team than last year, which isn't saying much, I know. But I think that Zach Wilson takes a step forward. I think the offense is much better. I think the defense has some pieces. I think they can win 6 games. I don't feel great about it, but I do think that I'm leaning towards an over on the Jets.
I'm gonna say a prayer for that one, dude, because that's tough. Like I just can't get there after what Miami did to acquire, Chase Edmonds and Tyreek Hill. All faith going into I don't know. I think I think they're a better team on paper. I'm not a Tua fan, but I just think they're a better team on paper. And then the Patriots, like they're still really good. And then you got the Bills. Like, where does Zach Wilson, the Jets, despite their great draft, like fit into that equation? That's tough, man. That's tough. I can see the Jets winning 3 games.
Here's where I think the Jets get the win. The Patriots. I think I want to go under on the Patriots too at 8.5.
Ooh.
I did not like what they've done in this offseason at all. Trust in Bill forever, but the dude might be turning a little senile here.
Strange wasn't the right move.
Not even Strange. It's like, I know the J.C. Jackson was expensive, but some of their moves on defense nothing matched up. And he's lost so many of these guys, these front office guys, and all these assistants. The only ones that have come back are the ones that fucking suck. So now he's just got worse people in the building, and I think at some point it catches up. And look, I like Mac Jones, but the guy still doesn't have that many weapons. The offensive line is probably going to be a little bit worse. Yeah. The running back is fully by committee. It seems like Ramondre might be in the running with Damian Harris. Right. You still don't have a number 1 wide receiver. You've done nothing to address that, and the division's gotten better around you. I don't know. It's tough to go against New England, but I think that's kind of where I am right now on May 10th.
I mean, their formula for football is like so ancient right now. Like, let's just run the ball 55 times and see how it works out. Like, maybe they just stack the box and it doesn't work next year, or more teams figure it out. But I don't know, man. There's something about Bill that inspired them last year that they totally overachieved. So you're right here. Let's get spicy. It's only May, but 8.5. I feel that. Okay. The rise of the Jets and the fall of the Patriots. I love it.
What fucking world are we living in? All right, we'll end the podcast on that. Dan, be back next week. We'll talk about all the NFL schedule release stuff, some more Dynasty stuff, some more things to bet on as we approach the NFL season. We're less than 4 months away. I can't fucking wait.
Let's get it.
Until next time, good luck with the NBA bets tonight. Go Heat. Fuck the Sixers tonight. Try to make some money.
Suns.
All right. See you later.